All right, welcome everybody to the Squirtle State Championship Roundtable. My name is Michael Swisher, sitting alongside Coach John Hardaway, boys coach at Cashin High School, and Coach Randy Turney, the legendary Northwest Oklahoma coach. And we are going to break down the Class A Girls State Championship game, which is going to be what we think is a really good one. It's the one we want to see, number 1 Seiling versus number 2 Okarche, as they tip off at 1:45 p.m. Saturday at State Fair Arena to decide that title. And both teams won today by not just similar scores, but the exact same score. As Seiling beat Surreal 47-35, and then Okarche knocked off Pond Creek Hunter, avenging last year's loss, also by a score of 47-35. If you're a little slow to keep up there on the same exact score, let's go ahead and start with Seiling. And when we talk about Seiling, you got to talk about Carly Gore and Macy Gore, Coach Hardaway, and both of them delivered today. Wasn't Seiling's best game of the season. I think Surreal had a little bit to do with that. I think Seiling just didn't play its best game. But Macy Gore, 18.7 boards. Carly Gore, 13 points, 16 boards. And I think that's her second straight double-double at the state tournament. But if you've got those two going in some kind of capacity, you're going to have a chance to win the big games.
Yeah, I mean, those two, they're so impressive, very poised, very composed. And, you know, when they played the big games, the big opponents, you know, teams that are, you know, scheming to stop them, they seem to really kind of, you know, rise to the top and perform really, really well in those games. I mean, they're just, both of them are so good. They, you know, they find each other, they kind of feed off of each other. And, you know, when you've got two really, really good players like that, it's hard for somebody to beat you. Yeah. And I mean, you know, it seems crazy that they're just sophomores, because everybody has seen them play in so many big games the last 2 years. It'd be a scary next 2 years for Class A. So.
Exactly, and it's not something you want to deal with, and something that Brian Gore didn't want to deal with. Their dad was his tie, which did not make it even to the end of the first quarter, as the assistant coach for the Lady Cats and Carly and Macy's father, Brian Gore. He looked sharp to start the game. Boy, he was shirt was almost untucked by the end of the game. Of course, I've seen another coach that may or may not be sitting next to me have that same attire from time to time, but it is Seiling trying to defend its title, and to do so it will have to beat number 2 Okarche, which I think is in the state championship game, whether in A or B, for the 5th time in 6 years. Last year being the exception, because Pond Creek knocked them off in the semifinals in a game that was coached by your daughter, Tasha Dieselhorse, who is now the women's coach at Northwestern. But this Pond Creek Hunter team, a little different from last year's team, not quite the firepower, but still the Lady Panthers put up a good fight, but just could not overcome Okarche today.
Yeah, they did. And they're Pond Creek, you know, we've got some girls that are real athletic, can get to the rim, and they make it hard to defend. And, you know, I think, you know, experience and being down here as much as these teams that we're talking about, you know, that really helps to have your kids have gone through that, because it's tough to come down here and play, you know, when you've never been in this experience before. But these teams that we're talking about have been there and done that. And, you know, like you said, they didn't. I don't think Okarche and Seiling played, you know, anywhere up to their par today. And tomorrow, you know, when they're playing for it all, and you got number 1 and number 2, I expect to see a really good ball game tomorrow between those two teams.
Kinsey Niederer and Sarah Griswold, 11 points apiece for Okarche, and Paige Owens with 10 points. And when we talk about the big games, you got to talk about the big-time players. For Okarche, the first person you think of is Niederer, and she is still recovering from a broken foot that she missed nearly 2 months of the season with, and not 100%, still better than, you know, 95% of the players you're going to find out there on a Class A basketball court, but not at 100%. And going into the state championship game and going up against the number 1 team in the state, the defending state champs, and the players that we talked about, you want to be as healthy as possible, and you got to wonder if that's going to hinder Okarche at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see. I think, you know, both Coach Hamer and Coach Myers is one of their better coaching jobs. I mean, they've had a bunch of really good coaching jobs. You know, they lost some players last year, and you know, they had some great ones coming back, but kind of piecing together, doing some things that fit their personnel, give themselves the best chance to win night in, night out. I mean, both teams have really good players. They're both really well coached. Both teams are going to, you know, they'll have a game plan, obviously, to stop the other team's best players and the things that they're comfortable doing, used to doing. You know, I'm really interested to see kind of what the pace of play ends up being. You know, do do they, is it a slower down game? Is it a grinder game, or is it, is the court kind of opened up and, we're seeing, kids score 20, 25 points a game? It'd be really interesting to see. I mean, two elite teams, elite programs, elite coaches with elite players. It's what it should be, in a state championship game. So.
And when you look at these games, you look at the gores and you look at the shooting, you kind of think of what they can do offensively. Okarche, obviously, you think of them getting up and down the court, shooting the three-pointers, getting inside, and what they can do offensively. But I think you'll certainly agree with this, Coach Turney. Both teams kind of, maybe it's overshadows what they do defensively. And while it's nice to have great offenses, they're going to go cold. And you always need that fallback plan, and defense is the thing, as you can attest to, that should not rest.
That is right. And, that's Brady's known for his matchup zone. It's, you better scheme and know what you're doing, because he's really good at trying to take away your strengths, And this year, Sherry's really, likes to press and get after you full court. But this team's, a little bit bigger, and she's played a little bit more zone this year and tried to use her size a little bit. And I think it's, what she's doing fits her personnel real well. But like you say, you got to bring defense every game. There's going to be some nights where you can't shoot the ball very good, but you can always rely on that defense, everybody doing their job and defending shooters and blocking out and rebounding. But that's something that's got to be constant if you want to be a very good basketball team.
Well, will Seiling defend its state championship and win its 4th overall title? It's got titles in 93 and 94, and then, of course, last year, as we talked about, will Okarche regain its crown? The Lady Warriors are looking for their 6th overall, and it would be their 4th under Coach Sherry Myers. We will find out, as the second game of the day tomorrow at State Fair Arena, or today, if you're watching this, not the live version, if you're watching this on one of the Squirtle app's social media platforms. But that game tips off at 1:45. Number 1 Seiling at 27-1, trying to repeat against number 2 Okarche, coming in at 26-4. That's going to do it for the Class A roundup. This is Coach John Hardaway. This is Coach Randy Turney. I'm Michael Swisher. We'll see you at State Fair Arena.